Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am the Maze Man. Before we get started, hit the notification bell for me and the like and subscribe button. Today we are talking about a Michigan commit that is heavily recruiting other Michigan targets. Plus, we'll speak a little bit about Michigan reaching out to a certain wide receiver from a certain sibling that is smaller than them. Speaking of siblings, we'll talk about where Michigan stands with the sibling of a four-star Michigan commit in this cycle, and where Michigan stands with a standout cornerback from Ohio. All that, and of course, I'm upset. Let's get right to it. Michigan has apparently been in contact with former Michigan State wide receiver Keon Coleman, who is in the transfer portal currently. Keon released an edit that showed all 59 universities that have been in contact with him since he's entered his name into the transfer portal. And to nobody's surprise, Michigan was one of those teams. Obviously, Coleman would be a great addition to any team, but especially the Wolverines for a couple different reasons. He's a 6'4", big body receiver, 215 pounds, that can win jump balls, 50-50 balls. That is very appealing to a Michigan team that really doesn't have that. I guess Cornelius Johnson right now would be the closest they have to it right now. And he performed very well. In fact, had his best game of the season last year against the Wolverines. Had 155 yards, I believe, and I caught their only touchdown in that game. So Keon Keeley would be a huge addition to Michigan, one, because they'd be able to stick it to their arch rivals, and two, because he is actually a very good receiver. That being said, there's been no talk or discussion on whether or not Michigan will have him on campus. He has set up 2 official visits. I believe he's with Florida State now, visiting Florida State now. He also has a visit scheduled for Auburn, which is a little weird because the talk was that he entered the portal because he didn't want Peyton Thorne to be his quarterback anymore. We all know Peyton Thorne committed to Auburn, so him visiting Auburn would be a little weird unless that story just is not the real story. So I'll keep you posted if anything changes. Lil Bro Nim cannot afford to take many more hits. There are some of them that are still holding out hope that Keon Coleman will return to East Lansing. I do believe that ship has sailed, though, and Michigan getting him would be a big feather in the cap. Moving right along. Speaking of siblings and brothers, Michigan is recruiting 4-star edge Jacob Smith, the brother of 4-star defensive line commit to Michigan, Gerard Smith, just like they were recruiting his brother. As you may recall, last week on the Maize and Blue and Gold show, I had the parents of both Gerard and Jacob on, and Gerard Smith Sr. confirmed that Gerard Smith is recruiting his brother every day. And in fact, the pendulum has swung a bit as On 3 has Gerard favored to go to Michigan now. He was a Notre Dame lean, but that appears to be not the case anymore. His brother has committed. The pair have talked about playing together at the next level all of their lives, basically. And this would make it easier for mom and dad as well, as they wouldn't have to make multiple trips or split trips on Saturdays to see their sons play. I'll keep you updated with more information as this one progresses. We may even have some interesting information for the channel and Jacob's commitment rather. So I'll keep you up to date on that. Moving along. Before we get into this next segment, be sure to like the video, comment down below. What do you think so far? What do you think on Michigan communicating with Keon Coleman? Also, what do you think of Michigan's chances of landing Jacob Smith to pair with his brother Gerard Smith in the 2024 class? Moving along, though, Michigan running back commit Jordan Marshall out of Cincinnati, and Michigan's only running back commit in the class thus far, has been doing his part on the recruiting trail. In fact, he's recruiting another top running back prospect in Taylor Tatum. Taylor Tatum, the prospect out of Texas, 4-star prospect out of Texas, the number 2 running back in the class and the number 9 running back in the state of Texas, is rated 42 overall. He is a every down type of back. You've seen highlights of him catching the football, running the football, very versatile back. And Jordan Marshall, not afraid of a little competition, wants to be better, thinks steel sharpens steel, is recruiting Taylor Tatum. He had this to say 2-on-3. I want to compete with him. I want him to come here so we can make each other better. A lot of running backs don't want that, but I think we can feed off of each other and make each other better every single day. Whether it's working out or just being better people, I want him to join the family. We have the best offensive line in the country to run behind. I want him there. So you heard it from Marshall's mouth. Taylor Tatum, you are wanted in Ann Arbor. And that would be a massive, massive get for Michigan, kind of pairing up 2 running backs again like they have now with Blake and with Donovan, and before that with Blake and Hassan. Marshall went on to speak about recruiting and helping to recruit another running back, Micah Kaipana out of Las Vegas, Ohio, edge rusher Brian Robinson, Texas, interior offensive lineman Max Anderson, offensive tackle out of Texas Bennett Warren, and others, including the Ohio corners Bryce West and Aaron Scott. He has a relationship with both of those gentlemen. About Bryce, he had this to say. He said he would be good for Michigan because he's a dude. He works hard. I think he goes hand in hand. Coach Klingscale would love him there, and he would be really good in our system. It's the opportunity to play for us, win a natty, and lock up all those dudes at the other state. And speaking about Aaron Scott, he and Aaron seemed to have an even more personable relationship. He said, it's remembering when we played against each other and laughing whenever he tackled me or whenever I ran him over. To already have that friendship now, it would mean a lot for us to be teammates at Michigan. Same thing with Bryce. Come win a national championship with us. So Jordan Marshall doing his part in recruiting. One thing about this Michigan class of 2024 is all of those guys have been recruiting heavily in their own right, from Jacob Oden to Jordan Marshall, even Jaden Davis and the offensive linemen. We know they've been recruiting each other and others like crazy. So they've got a little mantra, born to play for Michigan, and these guys are doing their part. Hopefully Michigan and the coaching staff can close with some of these targets. Moving on to our final segment of today's video. Into our last segment, you just heard me speak a little bit about this guy, Aaron Scott, out of Springfield, Ohio, Springfield High School. He is a 4-star cornerback, the number 1 recruit in the entire state of Ohio. He has been favored for, or crystal balled rather, to the other state. He's received, I believe, 2 or 3 crystal balls to the other state. But Sam Webb recently stopped by Springfield and chatted with the coaches there at Springfield, and things may be not as they seem completely. He released a top 12 recently, I believe last month, but it appears that there are really 3 teams in the running for Aaron Scott services on the next level, and that's the other state, Michigan and Oregon. Apparently growing up, he was not a fan of the other state and rather was a fan of Oregon. However, he just took a visit to Oregon recently, and one of the issues that may be a problem for the Ducks is the distance, right? It's a long plane ride from Ohio to Oregon. Plus, you know, for mom and his father and anybody who wants to see him play in the Pac-12, you know, that's a lot to ask. But those two schools right there bordering each other, one of them being his in-state school in the other state, and of course Michigan, that wouldn't be such a big task or big, tall ask from his parents and anybody in the immediate family or friends that wanted to see him play. Now, it comes down to which of those schools basically can recruit him better. There is something to be said for a guy who wants to go and, like I said in the previous segment, have steel sharpen steel with the plethora of 4 and 5 star receivers that the other state has amassed. But there's also something in getting technique and being a shutdown corner that Steve Klinkscale and those guys can provide for him, also practicing with the likes of Will Johnson and such. So it is an argument to be had either way. Michigan obviously trying to do their part in recruiting better receivers too, for someone like Aaron Scott to face each day in practice. Not to say that the receivers that they have now are slouches. Roman Wilson certainly isn't. Cornelius Johnson certainly is not. So this will basically come down to which of those two schools, in my opinion, can do a better job of convincing Aaron Scott that they are the team for him to play for. Of course, Columbus can offer him something else, and it appears that they are in the lead for Bryce West. That can be appealing for him. Obviously, those two have a bond, a friendship, if you will. There is that. But Michigan, again, has Klinkscale and the coaching staff, not to mention the two beatdowns of the other state over the last couple of years. So we'll see how it plays out. I would like to see Aaron Scott in maize and blue. I know a bunch of the fans would as well, but we'll see how it works out. We've reached that time in the video, though, where I have to bid you adieu. And before I do, we're going to get back to giving out those Triple M shout-outs today. The first Triple M shout-out goes to Troy Fall. You are officially a madman. Thank you for the support. Triple M shout-out number 2 today is to Philip LeMay. You are officially a madman, not just because your name is Philip. You are officially a madman. Thank you for your support. And last but certainly not least, Mark Benton. Shout out to you, sir. You're officially a madman. Until next time, make sure you follow me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, @MazeMadman. And be sure to leave your comments down below. What do you think of Michigan's chances of landing Aaron Scott? What do you think of Michigan's chances of landing Jacob Smith, pairing him with his brother? Also, how do you feel about this class of Michigan commitments and what they are doing on the recruiting trail themselves? And of course, until next time, stay angry, my friends. I'm upset.
Ladies and gentlemen, this might be our best season ever.